A trembling human child stands in a hall of alien conquerors, eyes wide, voice shaking. I'm just a lost child, please, don't hurt me. The chamber echoes with laughter, until one alien leans close, whispering, Hurt you? No, you're ours now. What they didn't know was who exactly they had just claimed. The void of space stretched silent, stars burning like distant candles in a cathedral of endless dark. And in that cathedral, something drifted, small, fragile, and out of place. A single pod. Scorched edges? No beacon. Just a faint pulse of life inside. The HFY patrol cruiser Glisser was the first to spot it. Their sensors painted the pod as barely functional, its shielding cracked, oxygen thinning. Captain, it's a child. The bridge went quiet. HFY weren't sentimental by nature. They were efficient, pragmatic, proud of their cold logic. But even their three-eyed stares softened when the pod opened, and a tiny figure blinked up at them. Pale-skinned, small, with dark hair matted against his forehead. Human. The galaxy had spoken of humans, of course. Primitive. Dangerous once, but supposedly extinct, consumed by their own wars centuries ago. The kind of species you used in cautionary tales. Do not fight like the humans did, lest you burn as they burned. But here he was. Alive. The boy's voice cracked when he whispered, I'm just a lost child, please don't hurt me. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone. Fragile. Achingly vulnerable. The kind of plea that bypassed suspicion and went straight to instinct. Even hardened soldiers shifted uncomfortably. The captain, Kronvach, leaned forward in his command seat, mandibles twitching. He was a predator, built for war, yet something about the child made him hesitate. No one will harm you, Kronvach said slowly. You are safe here. The boy blinked, eyes wide, glistening in the low light. Safe? He echoed, as if tasting the word for the first time. Yes. Safe, the captain repeated, perhaps more to convince himself. And then the boy smiled. Small. Innocent. Terrifying in a way no HFY could articulate. A polite stranger. Hours later, the boy sat in the cruiser's medbay, wrapped in a thermal blanket. He seemed oddly calm for someone plucked from the jaws of death. Too calm. The ship's medic, an insectoid named Veshit, muttered. Humans were said to be restless. Violent. This one, he is quiet. The boy tilted his head politely. I can hear you, sir. Veshit froze. Ah. My apologies. The boy's lips curved again, gentle, forgiving. That's all right. Most people think we don't listen. But my mother always said listening is how you learn who's dangerous. The medic blinked, unsure whether it was a child's innocent remark or something sharper. Before he could decide, the boy added sweetly. Are you dangerous? Kronvach entered before Veshit could answer. Child. You are aboard the HFY ship Glisser. We have questions. The boy nodded with almost courtly politeness. I expected you would. That's what grown-ups do, isn't it? Ask questions when they're nervous. Kronvach's mandibles clicked. He was not used to being called nervous. He chose to ignore it. What is your name? The boy looked down, as though embarrassed. Daniel. A human name, the captain said slowly. We believed your kind lost. Extinguished. Daniel's voice softened. That's what they all say. The room chilled. Even the medic stilled, antennae twitching. The first cracks. Later, in the mess hall, whispers spread among the crew. A human here? He looks harmless. Harmless? The stories. Daniel sat quietly at the table, sipping water as if he'd done this 1,000 times. Every so often, he'd glance at a soldier staring too long and smile just enough to make them look away. Finally, a young ensign gathered the courage to speak. Are you really the last human? Daniel set down his cup carefully. His voice was light, almost playful. Last? No. Not last. Never last. The ensign frowned. But your people. Daniel interrupted with the kind of gentle precision that felt rehearsed. My people don't die easily. We hide. We wait. And when others forget us. He paused, letting the silence stretch just long enough to draw everyone in. We come back. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They couldn't tell if it was a child's exaggeration or something darker. Daniel noticed their discomfort. He brightened his tone. But don't worry. I'm just a child. I couldn't hurt anyone. He smiled wide, showing small white teeth. Right? The ensign excused himself quickly. Captain's doubt. That night, Kronvach sat alone in his quarters, reviewing the sensor logs. The pod hadn't just drifted randomly. Its trajectory was too clean, too perfect, as if placed deliberately in the patrol's path. Coincidence? Or trap? The child's words echoed in his mind. We hide. We wait. XYRTH logic screamed caution, but something else, something primal, whispered fear. Humans were supposed to be extinct. If even one remained, what did it mean? Kronvach's door chimed. Enter. Daniel stepped in, still wrapped in his blanket. You looked lonely, Captain. Thought I'd sit with you. Kronvach stiffened. Children should rest. Daniel perched on the edge of a chair, ignoring the dismissal. I couldn't sleep. Too many stars out there. Makes you wonder who's watching. The captain studied him. You are not afraid of us. Daniel tilted his head, smiling. Why should I be? You said I was safe. The words were innocent. The tone was not. It was a challenge, wrapped in silk. Kronvach felt his mandibles clench. You are peculiar. Daniel's eyes glinted in the dim light. So I've been told. Hook tightens. 2 days passed. The child's presence unsettled the crew more than any weapon ever had. He was polite, obedient, never raised his voice, yet somehow, he was always the one in control. When soldiers argued, Daniel's single comment would silence them. When officers questioned orders, Daniel's quiet observation would sway them. When Kronvach issued commands, he found himself half-checking the boy's reaction, as though awaiting approval. It was absurd. He was captain. The boy was nothing. And yet, on the third night, the Glisser intercepted a distress signal. Another vessel crippled, its engines failing. Kronvach prepared to respond when Daniel's voice drifted across the bridge. Soft. Calm. Certain. You shouldn't answer that. The entire crew froze. Kronvach turned slowly. Why? Daniel looked at him with eyes too old for his face. Because it's not a distress call. It's bait. And if you go, they'll be waiting. The captain's blood ran cold. He checked the scans again, this time with suspicion, and found anomalies he had missed. The boy had seen it instantly. Not just seen it. Known it. Kronvach finally understood. This was no lost child. This was something else entirely. And when Daniel whispered, Don't worry, Captain. I'll keep you safe, it sounded less like comfort and more like a promise wrapped in steel. The chamber of the Ketheri War Council glowed with shifting bioluminescence, walls pulsing like the inside of a great living lung. Delegates from a dozen species filled the seats, antennae twitching, mandibles clicking, voices humming in overlapping dialects. They weren't here for diplomacy. They were here to dissect a problem. That problem was a boy. A small human, barefoot, hair tangled, sitting cross-legged on the polished obsidian floor as though he had wandered into the galaxy's deadliest tribunal by accident. He smiled faintly, the kind of harmless, apologetic smile that would disarm suspicious grandparents back on Earth. Explain to me again, hissed Chancellor Vrythix, her tendrils curling with disdain. Why this hatchling has not been spaced yet? Commander Solarek, the reptilian officer who had first discovered the boy adrift, flicked his tongue nervously. Because, Chancellor, he asked us not to hurt him. The chamber erupted in laughter. Hoots, chitters, the low rumble of guttural amusement shook the hall. Not to hurt him, mocked a tall insectoid with serrated mandibles. Shall we ask the void not to freeze us too? Or the suns not to burn? The boy tilted his head, feigning confusion. You're laughing at me. That's fine. People laughed at me in school too. Usually right before they regretted it. The laughter faltered, caught on the edge of something sharp in his tone. Vrythix narrowed her eyes. Regretted it? Explain, little mammal. The boy blinked innocently. Oh, nothing serious. Just, they didn't expect the quiet kid to know which pipes to flood to shut down an entire campus, or how long a janitor's passkey could keep doors locked before anyone noticed. People don't expect much from someone small. A silence spread. The alien shifted uncomfortably. It wasn't the words, it was the way he said them, polite, casual, as though sabotage was just another after-school activity. Solarek cleared his throat. He claims he is lost. Claims, echoed a skeletal avian with eyes like shards of glass. But how does a human child cross 3 systems and appear inside our military borders without a ship? The boy spread his hands. That's a good question. I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually. The chamber bristled. The Chancellor leaned forward. Do you mock us? He put on a wounded expression. Mock you? Never. I respect powerful people. Truly. It's just. He hesitated, choosing words like a knife chooses where to cut. Where I come from, powerful people often think they're safe. Right up until they realize, too late, that humans are standing right behind them. A ripple of unease passed through the hall. The insectoid barked again, defensive. You are a cub! A fragment of prey species! I could snap you in half with a thought. The boy gave him a patient smile. Probably. But before you could stand, you'd be thinking about the fuel leaks on Deck 7. Or the coolant lines you didn't notice someone loosened last night. You'd wonder how I knew exactly which ones. And then you'd ask yourself, if a lost child can think that way, what are the adults like? The insectoid froze. His mandibles clicked shut. For the first time, genuine silence weighed on the council. The boy sighed and folded his arms, as though disappointed in himself. I shouldn't say things like that. It makes people nervous. The Chancellor's voice was cold. You speak as though you are not alone. His smile softened into something unreadable. Am I? Hours later, Solarek escorted the boy to a containment wing. Guards whispered behind their helmets. None met his eyes. The boy hummed softly to himself, an earth tune, something cheerful, absurdly out of place. If you're happy and you know it. He clapped his hands once, sharp and startling in the echoing hall. The guards flinched. He giggled. Humans are unsettling, muttered one of the soldiers in his native tongue. The boy answered in perfect accent. You should see us when we're really trying. The guard nearly dropped his weapon. Solarek exhaled smoke from his nostrils. Where did you learn our tongue? The boy shrugged. Where did you learn mine? That is not an answer. Neither was yours. Solarek ground his teeth. He had fought in 7 campaigns, crushed pirate fleets, endured sieges. Never had a child made him feel like prey. Meanwhile, back in the council chamber, the debate turned vicious. He is bait, snapped the avian delegate. No species surrenders a cub without reason. This is a snare, and we sit with it in our nest. Ridiculous, countered the insectoid, though his mandibles twitched with unease. A frail thing cannot threaten the Dominion. Vrythix, however, remained still. Her tendrils traced thoughtful circles. And yet he has not begged. Not once. He does not cry. He does not despair. He waits. For what? A smaller delegate, a rodent-like creature with bright eyes, whispered nervously. Perhaps, for us to make the wrong move. Inside his containment room, the boy sat calmly on the edge of the bunk, staring at the security camera. He leaned close, resting his chin on his hand, and spoke softly, almost kindly. You're wondering if I'm a spy? Or a weapon? Or bait? The truth is simpler. He let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. I'm just a lost child, who asked you not to hurt me. But you did in your way. You caged me. You mocked me. And that was your mistake. He smiled, slow and sweet, like honey dripping from a blade. Because now, you're ours. The camera feed crackled. Somewhere deep in the Dominion network, protocols older than their empire began to stir. The interrogation chamber had been remodeled from a starship cargo bay, its ceiling too high, its walls too sterile. Kethar, the insectoid officer leading this recruitment initiative, paced and clicked, efficient strides. His mandibles clicked in agitation as the child sat calmly on the metallic bench, legs dangling like he was waiting for a bus. You are aware, human, Kethar began, his voice layered with static undertones, that you stand at the threshold of something greater than yourself. We offer you placement in our order. Cooperation means survival. The boy, Alex, looked down, fiddling with a loose thread on his sleeve. His voice was soft, almost tremulous. Cooperation, huh? That's what kidnappers always say in the movies. Next thing you know, I'm in a basement with a bucket of lotion. Several alien attendants exchanged confused looks. A reptilian scribe hissed to his neighbor. What is lotion? Kethar ignored them. You misunderstand. We do not harm assets. Humans have potential. You will be useful. Alex's lips curled faintly. Useful like a wrench or useful like a loaded gun? The insectoid tilted his head, his antennae twitching. Perhaps both. That was the problem. They thought they had found a stray weapon, a tool to bend in shape. They hadn't realized yet that tools don't grin while you measure them. Layers of the net. Hours passed, measured by the shifts of guards and the rhythm of questions designed to peel Alex open. He answered with half-truths, anecdotes about Earth, and references that meant nothing to them. Yes, baseball. Imagine strategic combat but with wooden clubs and leather armor for your hands. Everyone pretends it's slow, but it's all angles, math, and nerves. You don't play the game, you play the players. Your species wastes resources on games? Not wasted. It's practice. Low-stakes war with hot dogs. Confusion spread like static among them. The younger attendants whispered as though deciphering a code. Kethar stared harder each time Alex spoke. By the third session, one of the reptilian aides leaned over. Commander, if this one is a child, then our hatchlings are ancient philosophers. He twists meaning with every answer. Kethar's mandibles twitched. He hated when subordinates noticed what he was trying to deny. The mask slips. Later, when only 2 guards remained, Alex leaned forward, elbows on knees. His tone softened, almost conspiratorial. You know, I don't mind being here. It's kind of fun. Like summer camp, except with more antennae and less esmores. But you should be careful. The guards stiffened. One aimed a pulse staff at him. Careful? Are you threatening? Alex raised his hands, palms open. Threatening? No. Advising. Big difference. My mom always said, if you corner a raccoon, don't be surprised when it bites through the fence. They didn't get the metaphor, not entirely. But something in his delivery, the ease, the casual smile, unsettled them. Clarify, one demanded. Alex tilted his head, as though considering. Nah. You'll see. The silence afterward was heavy. Kethar replayed the footage 3 times that evening, antennae twitching harder with each pass. A crack in the facade. The council chamber was less forgiving than the interrogation bay. Alien officers from half a dozen species gathered to assess the human. Some mocked the idea that such a small being could matter. Others, like the ancient aquatic delegate Veruin, regarded him with cautious curiosity. This one, Veruin rumbled through a water-filled vocalizer, projects frailty but leaks intention. You feel it, don't you? A current beneath still waters. Kethar hated that Veruin could articulate what he feared. He is but one. Containment is trivial. Containment, Veruin replied, is an illusion when one does not understand what is being contained. As if summoned by the words, Alex was escorted in. He waved cheerfully. Wow. This is like Comic-Con, but with less deodorant. The translator couldn't parse. Comic-Con. It rendered instead, large ceremonial hunt with decorative armor. The aliens nodded gravely. Alex glanced around, wide-eyed. So, am I supposed to give a speech? Or is this more of a roast? I've got material if you want laughs. Laughter, nervous, awkward, spread among the younger delegates. Even here, in a chamber where authority ruled, humor cut through like a blade. Subtle blades. Human, Veruin said, his voice a deep current. What do you want? Alex shrugged. What does anyone want? Safety, a bed, a decent slice of pizza. He paused, letting the silence stretch. Then, quieter. And the guarantee that nobody I care about ends up here. The shift in tone was microscopic but chilling. His gaze flicked over the assembly, sharp despite the childish posture. For a moment, the mask slipped, and they glimpsed the tactician crouched behind the boy's smile. Define. Nobody you care about, Kethayar pressed. Alex leaned back, stretching his arms as though bored. Define your fleet movements in the Vegas sector. The chamber rustled. He had parried a probe with one of his own, a move too deliberate for innocence. Alien reactions. Later, in hushed corridors, the arguments began. He's baiting us. He knows nothing. It is instinct, nothing more. Instinct that mimics strategy? That is not instinct, it is training. Veruin's final words silenced the debate. If this one is the weakest among his kind, then we should pray we never meet the strong. The demonstration. The next day, Kethayar tried something different. He released Alex into the training pit, a dome where young recruits sparred. The child was unarmed. The opponents, 3 cadets, lightly armed but towering over him. Show us what you can do, Kethayar said. Alex blinked. Seriously? You're making kids fight kids? You guys need better hobbies. The cadets circled. One lunged, spear crackling with energy. Alex sidestepped, grabbed the shaft, and with a single twist sent the cadet sprawling. The move was fluid, practiced. Not flashy, not clumsy. Efficient. The second charged. Alex ducked, kicked the knee joint sideways, and the cadet collapsed with a howl. The third hesitated. Alex sighed. You don't want to do this, trust me. The cadet attacked anyway. A feint, a pivot, and Alex had the weapon. He didn't strike. He simply held it, pointed down, waiting. The crowd above the dome watched in stunned silence. Alex looked up, shoulders rising in an exaggerated shrug. See? I told you. The whisper of fear. By the time he was escorted back, whispers followed. Not about the boy's skill alone, but about restraint, the decision not to finish his opponents. That choice screamed louder than violence. I know how to end you. I choose not to. In the chamber later, Kethayar pressed his mandibles close to the recorder. This is no child. This is a knife wrapped in silk. From the shadows, Veruin's voice answered. No, Commander. He is not the knife. He is the one who forges them. Closing note of the chapter. Alone in his cell, Alex leaned back against the wall. His eyes, calm, calculating, glinted in the low light. He whispered softly, almost amused. Just a lost kid, huh? Yeah. Keep telling yourselves that. The night was deceptively calm. Wind brushed across the ruined balcony, carrying faint scents of ash and rain. Inside the shattered hall, a single lamp flickered, throwing jagged shadows across stone walls etched with ancient symbols. Elena stood at the center, her shoulders squared though her hands trembled. Opposite her, Kalen, the man who had walked out of myth and into her fragile reality, leaned against a pillar, arms crossed. He looked both relaxed and ready to kill at a moment's notice. His eyes, strange and almost luminous, fixed on her with a weight she couldn't shake. You're not saying everything, Elena murmured. Her voice was steady, but her pulse betrayed her. All this talk of a pact of protection, it doesn't explain why you called me here. Kalen's mouth twitched, not quite a smile. You want honesty? His tone was smooth, too smooth. Very well. I called you because the Council believes you are the key. The bloodline that should have ended centuries ago still runs in your veins. Elena froze. Bloodline? I don't even know my father's name. What could I possibly have that your people need? Kaelin stepped closer. The air between them tightened like a drawn bowstring. You carry something older than memory. Something every empire tried to erase. Humanity's last tether to what they once were. Her throat went dry. And what were we? Kaelin paused as though choosing his words with surgical precision. Not prey. Not victims. Hunters that even gods learned to fear. Silence pressed against the hall. Elena's knees threatened to give, but she forced herself still. The fragments of her childhood, half-remembered warnings, whispered lullabies, her mother's fearful eyes, flashed in sudden clarity. My mother always said, Elena whispered, that if I ever felt cornered I should never beg. Never cry. Just wait. Because someone would come. She was right, Kaelin replied. For the first time, his mask of detachment cracked. His voice softened, reverent almost. Your mother remembered the old oath. She kept you hidden until the time was right. Elena's stomach twisted. You make it sound as if my life was never mine. As if I was just a torch, Kaelin interrupted quietly. A flame passed forward, no matter the cost. The words cut deep, sharper than any blade. She staggered back a step, chest heaving. Then what now? You drag me into this ruin, tell me my blood is a key, and expect me to, what? Unlock some forgotten vault? Lead an army I never asked for? Kaelin's gaze softened, but his words remained unyielding. I expect you to choose. Stay hidden, and the galaxy will forget you. But if you step forward, Elena, you will not walk alone. Before she could reply, the hall shuddered. Dust cascaded from the cracked ceiling. A low, resonant hum filled the air, growing into a vibration that clawed at bone. Kaelin straightened instantly, eyes narrowing. They found us. From the far archway, 3 figures entered, armor glinting, faces obscured by jagged masks. They moved with the precise cruelty of predators. Their weapons hissed as they drew them, pale light dripping from the blades like liquid fire. Elena's breath hitched. Who are they? Kaelin's hand brushed his belt. A blade unfolded in silence, black as obsidian. Wardens of the Hollow Pact. They are here for you. The masked figures fanned out. One stepped forward, voice distorted and metallic. The girl belongs to us. Step aside, relic. Kaelin tilted his head slightly, a gesture of mockery. You should know better than to call me that. And then the room erupted. The wardens struck in unison, blades arcing with brutal precision. Kaelin moved faster than Elena's eyes could track, steel clashing against light. Sparks filled the air. His motions were fluid, almost graceful, as if each strike had been rehearsed 1,000 times. Still, they pressed him hard. 2 against his blade, 1 circling toward Elena. Her legs locked, fear rooting her in place. Elena! Kaelin's voice sliced through the chaos. Run! But she couldn't. Something inside her rebelled at the thought. Instead, she reached for the nearest fragment of stone on the floor, hefting it with trembling hands. As the circling warden lunged, she hurled it with all her strength. The stone struck its mask, cracking it just enough to stagger the figure. Kaelin seized the opening, twisting past his opponents, and driving his blade through the weakened mask. The warden collapsed soundlessly. The other 2 faltered, reassessing. Kaelin didn't give them the chance. With a flurry of strikes too quick to follow, he forced them back, disarmed one, and slit the other's throat in a single, merciless motion. When the silence returned, it was deafening. Blood and light pooled across the stone. Elena's chest rose and fell in ragged bursts, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Kaelin wiped his blade clean, his expression unreadable. You did not run. Elena swallowed hard. Neither did you. His gaze lingered on her, something dangerous flickering behind his calm. You think it bravery. But it is instinct. The same instinct buried in your bloodline. Her breath caught. You're saying I'm like you. No, Kaelin corrected softly, stepping closer until she could see the faint scars across his jaw. You are what I was made to follow. The words struck with more force than the battle. Her voice faltered. And if I don't want that? Kalen leaned close, his whisper almost tender. Then you should never have survived this long. The weight of his meaning crashed over her. Every shadow, every whispered warning of her childhood suddenly aligned with brutal clarity. Survival wasn't luck, it was expectation. The hall seemed smaller now, its air charged with a silent vow neither could ignore. Outside, the storm rumbled, wind clawing at the broken walls like a restless beast. Elena finally found her voice, steady despite the storm inside her. If I stay, if I choose this path, you said I won't walk alone. Prove it. Kalen's lips curved in something that was not quite a smile, not quite a threat. You already carry the proof. I am still here. For the first time since her mother's death, Elena felt the faint stir of something unfamiliar. Not comfort. Not safety. But belonging. A dangerous belonging that promised both salvation and ruin. The lamp guttered out, plunging the hall into darkness. Yet in the black, Kalen's whisper lingered, steady as a vow etched into stone. Stay forever.